This is the Boeing Sikorsky RAH-66 Comanche reconnaissance and light attack helicopter, built with a particular attitude towards stealth and also low noise. And this aircraft never went into serial production. Only 2 prototypes were made, and the program was canceled for budgetary reasons in early 2004. And this is the Kamov KA-58 so-called Black Ghost stealth helicopter from Russia. And not only did this never go into production, it doesn't exist at all. Both models are from Altea, 1/72 scale diecast. And this is an odd one for them to do, frankly. I think it just may be for fun. I think a couple of games feature this aircraft. And it is based on a real-world aircraft. It seems to be strongly influenced by the Kamov KA-52 Alligator. Now, I don't have a model of that. I do have a Kamov KA-25 so-called Hormone. This was a maritime anti-submarine and search and rescue helicopter used by the Russian Navy. And you notice the coaxial double set of rotors. That's kind of a Kamov thing. But this helicopter will get its own video. I just brought it out to show the design kind of lineage. And since this one doesn't really exist, I'll talk a bit about the KA-52 Alligator. But before I can really do that, I have to also talk about the KA-50, code name from NATO, Holcomb, or, as it was kind of officially known in Russia, the Black Ghost, thanks to a 1993 movie. The original KA-50 dates back to 1982-1983. It was designed as an attack helicopter. In fact, some in NATO thought it was an anti-helicopter helicopter. It was first kind of sneak peeked in 1984. They went through government testing in 85-86 and was ordered into final development and eventual production by the Soviet Defense Ministry in 1987. The reason it had a somewhat protracted phase was because it was a single occupant, a single seat attack aircraft. Pretty much all others, like the AH-1 Cobra and AH-64 Apache, have 2 seats. So the workload could be shared by 2 people. Basically, one to fly it and one to navigate, or in combat, one to be a gunner and one to fly it, or one to operate the radio if needs be. Well, the KA-50 Black Shark, if I said Black Ghost a minute ago, I apologize. It was called the Black Shark. Gave it all to one person. And they wanted to make sure the pilot could handle it, and it could. But then the collapse of the Soviet Union really delayed things. The KA-50 did not get approved for full rate production and officially adopted into Russian Air Force and Army service until 1995. And while they planned to buy enough to replace their existing MiL Mi-24 Heinz and a few other planes, they actually ended up buying about 30. Production was shut down at Kamov. But it was restarted in 2006 after Putin was doing his thing, and they started to deliver new examples. Actually, the first few built on existing airframes from the 90s that were never completed. Kind of interesting. But by this point, the old Kamov factory is gone. They're actually being made in what's called Progress now. But I digress. That's the single-seat attack version. After they had designed the KA-50, they thought about making kind of an advanced observation or reconnaissance, battlefield assistance in a way version. But again, the budget cuts. This basically led to the KA-52 so-called Alligator. And what they basically ended up doing was sticking a second seat side by side with the pilot, and they decided that side by side was a better way for an observation and reconnaissance version to operate than tandem. Now, they did make a tandem version of the KA-50 known as the KA-50-2. But the KA-52 was a side-by-sider, and it was known to NATO as the Hokum B. Very similar, except it had more reconnaissance features, more antennae sticking out, sensor blisters, and whereas the KA-50 had 4 hard points under the wings plus 2 wingtip missile rails, the KA-52 had 6 hard points under the stub wings plus the additional rails. It also retained the same Shipka 30mm cannon, although it had a reduced round count for room purposes. Kind of an interesting feature. The cannon, the pilot or gunner could select what kind of rounds it fired, like high explosive, armor piercing, etc. And even the rate of fire could be set to some extent. One reason Kamov always used this double-bladed system, rotor system, for one thing, it got rid of the tail rotor, which eliminated one point of vulnerability on the helicopter. It also made the transmission a smaller target for enemy, and it allowed the plane to be much more acrobatic. It could do rolls and loops and other things that traditional helicopters either did under duress or just could not do at all. And it's just kind of their thing. It also allowed the design to be more compact, which was really the reason it was used in the initial KA-25s back when, because these were operating on board ships. They needed a powerful helicopter, but it needed to fit on the small decks. It's kind of neat, I think. And the KA-52, even though it was kind of a sub-variant and didn't really take to the air till the late 90s in prototype form, has honestly gone on to be more successful than its original parent. The Russian government has purchased over 100 now, and last year said it would like to buy at least 100 more. I think having 2 people in more of the reconnaissance role gives it a certain edge on the battlefield that maybe other vehicles did not have. The Hind, as versatile as it is not an observation helicopter. And it has been of interest to other nations, including Israel, Turkey, and Egypt, and so on and so forth. The original plane itself was actually, or helicopter itself, was actually quite fast. It could get up to right at 200 miles per hour, climb up to about 18,000 feet. But of course, again, this is kind of a fantasy model. But a neat one. I would have definitely have preferred if they did a KA-52. But the general lines and everything are still here with this. It's neat. I mean, it has the body kind of meant to look stealthy. I'm not sure how the coaxial bladed rotors would be on the stealth scene. Probably not too great, frankly. It's a relatively large model. Very flat. But I think Altea does some pretty nice helicopters. I haven't really been disappointed by any of theirs yet. I don't know. There's really nothing out there on the interwebs about this model. When I first saw it, I thought, oh, maybe it's a new version of the Kamov I'm not aware of. And I was like, I don't know of a KA-58. Because obviously I don't game. It took me a bit to figure out what the hell. And by that point I thought, it'd be kind of fun to have. These Alteas are not, they're not cheap. I mean, excuse me, they're not expensive, so they're pretty cheap. I think it was like 25 bucks. Comes with a little stand. Fixed ordnance, gear in the down position. But the blades do rotate. Whee! And they seem to be of a higher quality than, say, a Mercom. Kind of on par in some ways with like an Oxford, but at least they move. So I thought, just for fun, I'd pick this up, and I figured if I had it, I might as well show you. Maybe I should put this in my Battlestar Galactica fleet. Kind of looks like something you'd see from Battlestar Galactica if you took the rotors off. What do you think? Would this fit into Battlestar Galactica? But yeah, I've also got a video on the Comanche. And a video on the real world KA-25, or as NATO knows it, the Hormone. What a name. So I hope you enjoyed this little fun video. If you could, like, share, and subscribe. This is Misha. I'll catch you very soon. Next time.